Hey everybody on Facebook and on YouTube, I'm Deborah Westbrook, and I titled this today, Black Box Reality Imposed on Our Transcendent Humanity. What do I mean? Well, this channel usually focuses on spirituality integrated with science, but today I want to talk about intuitively following along with a dream I had on a black box before I ever knew what a black box was. So follow along. This is going to encourage you. This is going to show that you don't have to submit to anything to bring out the divinity within your humanity. You're transcendent, which means that you're above the limitations that all these distractions would try to put on you and place on you. So thank you. I appreciate you being here. So let's get started. So overall, humanity is not aware of its intrinsic divinity. Both are entangled as one, and all is within. That's so many of my videos when I talked about the Akashic field, as far as memory, as far as connection, as far as coherence, that people need to realize that we're not separate. We have a higher self that we communicate with that is right now being manifested in this realm, but we communicate intuitively within a higher realm. And when you do that, life flows beautifully. So we're entangled as one, and all is within. Yet when one observes life as it is, one sees distractions constantly from discovering your true essence. When that comes forth from religion in the duality of a God out there, it comes forth from government trying to be your savior in every way. But I want to focus today on tech, but I want to make a disclaimer. I'm not opposed to tech. You know what? A lot of the pictures that I make on Canva are AI generated. I am not opposed to technology. I love my Mac. I've said that before. But I don't want you to be submitted to that in your humanity so that it controls you and does so many things, which we're going to talk about in the next several weeks as I post these videos. So get away from the distractions and know that you're entangled in nature. Know that consciousness is fundamental to the universe. Know that when you're still, you will know yourself, and you will flow in a life of authenticity, sovereignty, and freedom. So I'm a science math major. I'm not a coder. I live about 90 minutes from Silicon Valley, but I do have some observations through a dream I had. And as an intuitive, I pay attention to the dreams. And this dream involved a black box, as I said, before I even knew what a black box was. So let me tell you something about the dream. The dream had 3 parts, and I know that I've told this to people before, but this is a new series I want to start, and it is the passion of my heart to show people their divinity and their humanity. So in this 3rd part of the dream, I was at close to Stanford or whatever. It was a university, I believe it was Stanford, and these professors were sitting at a table. Now, as I approached them, I had a question, and they pointed me in the direction to find the answer to that question by walking through a field towards a building. When I got before the building, I looked up, and suddenly, out of the building, a hand reached down and gave me a black box. At that time, I was not aware everything about black box technology. I knew about black boxes on airplanes, but I didn't know. Now, I don't dream a lot. So when I dream, they're very detailed and they form changes in my life in the direction that I'm supposed to go. So when I was handed this black box and it had lights shining out of it, suddenly I looked overhead and I saw the word edict. Edict to me meant this was my passion, this was my call, and I sat on that for a long time. I tried speaking about this one time before, but it wasn't time. But now it's time. Intuitively, I'm going to speak about why you don't want to give your life over to technology, why it's not beneficial to you if it denies your humanity in any way. So let's start talking about what this black box is. Let me make it easy for you. And again, I don't know everything about this, but I do intensive study, and with study, I am opening myself up to curiosity and learning new things. So the black box is a complex AI, artificial intelligence system that produces useful information. But the problem is it doesn't reveal any information about what's going on in its internal workings. Now, That may change in the future. I'm saying what it is right now. So this black box in AI has input going in. It's subjected to a whole lot of data. For instance, if it wants to know what a cat looks like, it's going to show thousands and millions of pictures of cats to produce the data, so that when you ask ChatGPT to show you a picture of a cat, it's going to show you a picture of a cat based upon the data that it has collected. It's machine learning, but they don't know how it does it. So data input in, data flows, and output out. They don't know anything about the internal workings yet of the black box, but from what I've been studying, that may change. But for right now, it's still a mystery to most people. And yet we want to change our lives and trust our lives to this, which I'll go on in a minute. It is an impenetrable system whose inputs and outputs aren't visible to the user. And they arrive at conclusions without providing any explanations as to how they were reached. They use complex algorithms, which are how content is filtered, ranked, selected, and recommended to users. So an example would be they have an autonomous vehicle. This vehicle suddenly hits a pedestrian, and when we expect it, it should have hit the brakes. It didn't. It hit the pedestrian. So why didn't it hit the brakes? No one knows. Another example is the car turned left. I saw this online. When the color of the sky was a certain shade of purple. Why'd the car turn left when the color of the sky turned purple? It was an autonomous vehicle. Well, they learned that the car had been trained in the Nevada desert, so a decision was made because the Nevada desert sometimes has a purplish looking sky. So this autonomous vehicle, AI controlled, decided to turn based upon the sky. Why am I telling you this? Because the algorithms are ruling us right now. So if you look at this black box, what it's saying is that you have no idea what's going on. So it has no heart, it has no intelligence, and I do not believe at all that consciousness resides in the brain. But yet we're trusting our lives, our creativity, our imagination to a machine learning model, and that affects our brain, it affects our creativity, it affects our intuition, it affects our certain things about our imagination, and yet nobody wants to admit that. When social media uses algorithms, it's using them to corral you into a certain echo chamber, but we'll talk about that more in the days ahead, barring the fact that I'm able to keep producing these videos on Facebook. So they arrive at conclusions, and I got to thinking, well, the black box has no heart. So it's actually, we're giving over our humanity to a machine. Let's say we want to write a song. Well, the song comes from intuition. It comes from a higher awareness. It comes from consciousness in the field. When you write a book or a poem, or when you write anything, when you create art in any way, it comes from the essence of who you are, and that is not subject to a machine. And yet you're depending upon a machine. So many people are depending upon this to write their books, influence people, forge ahead, and it's all dependent on a machine language model. So like Greg Brayton says, if you don't use it, you lose it. That includes your imagination, it includes your creativity, it includes even certain brain functions. Now we have a whole generation of young people who do nothing but scroll, and I do not know the facts of this, but I'm starting to study how their hippocampus may be influenced by the fact that they're constantly scrolling, they're critical thinking. Someone of my generation, maybe we're not as affected because we still believe that nature speaks. We still believe if we're still and we know ourselves, we still read, we still do all that. We get out in nature. We're not tied to our social devices. We're not tied to our phones because we know that it's not good. They're good in and of themselves, but you have to regulate them. So this black box, what it said to me was that since my call was trying to show people that they're divinely human, if we turn everything over to AI technology, if we turn everything over to a black box reality, we lose a part of ourself in knowing that we are divinely human. When you are scrolling and the algorithms create an echo chamber, and they constantly show the same thing over and over and over, you are led in a particular direction. You lose your sense of critical thinking. You may have fear. You may get angry at people. So this is all is somewhat controlled to get you to focus on a certain direction. So the algorithms are controlling, AI to a certain extent is controlling. So this black box reality is simply saying to me, well, I'm not going to turn my life over to that. I'm going to enhance my creativity. Yes, I'll use it at times. I'll use certain instrumental ways to do information. Like when I want to find out certain things, I will Google certain things. I will go on DuckDuckGo, but I will use my own intuition when I gather all the data to the best that I can, and I will be human. I will not be controlled by a machine. This is so profound and so deep. I'm just giving you the shallow information today. We'll go deeper in the weeks to come. So again, why am I doing this? Because you're not to be controlled by tech. Tech is not your future, not unless you want it to be. Tech can be used by you. You are not used by tech. Consciousness does not start in the brain. It starts in the field, and we have receptors on our brain and in our heart to connect to the field to know our higher self. So this black box reality is simply arriving at conclusions without providing any explanations as to how they were reached. Yet we trust ourselves to it. So many people using ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, all those things, Grok, they're using all this to find information, but the information that's put out by these black box realities or these AI chatbots, they're not coming from the heart. They're pure data, and yet they want us to base our life on this data and influence our creativity on the data and have it do our humanity. And there's no way in hell I'm going to let that happen to me, because I'm going to be led by my heart. As I said, this topic is, I didn't know how to start this. So my intuition said, just go. Just begin to talk about this because it needs to be said. This is my call, and we'll dive deeper in the days ahead. So what does this have to do with my dream? The dream that I saw was, again, I was blown away. It was almost a year and a half ago. It involved 3 sections of the Bay Area, San Francisco, where I've lived since 1980, the Bay Area, aside from overseas. So it involved San Francisco, it involved Silicon Valley, and it involved Stanford. So I sat on that for the longest time, knowing that my call to show people their enhanced divinity had to turn them away from technology, even a young generation which is selling out their very creativity and imagination to this, into their divine humanity. That is my call. So what does this have to do with my dream? Why am I talking about this? And what does this have to do with you? The push in dependence on tech leads to a controlling life. Now, in the long run, we'll talk about this in the days ahead. When they talk about the singularity or the internet of everything, what they're talking about is at some point, humanity is going to go by the wayside, and they want to control all your movements. This isn't theory, folks. This is said by Ray Kurzweil. It is said by Yuval Noah Harari. It is said by so many tech people. They want to create an internet of everything, which every single part of your life is controlled by technology, which is already happening in some nations of the earth. It is control. Now, how do you fight that? Well, I don't know. We're not facing it right now. But if it comes to the point where my whole life existence is based upon technology, then I'll go move out into the woods and become an organic farmer, because I'm not, the Gnostic belief, folks, Gnosticism, not Christians' interpretation of Gnosticism, but the Gnostic belief was the belief that Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, has the planet, and this planet has life, and we are entangled within nature and within the planet. Now, and I'm studying this too. So we are here to be human and to communicate within our divine humanity. We are not here to be controlled. So I believe there'll be a choice in the future. So what will yours be? So this push toward technology, and I saw it myself. When I took that month off from social media, it was the best month I had. Now, do I deny social media? No, I know a lot of really wonderful people on here, and I don't, but it's not happening anymore. I'm not going to scroll all day. That month off gave me such a direction, such a joy, such a gratitude that I came back with a greater appreciation to only use it, not have it use me. So technology is not the way of the future unless you want it to rule your life. Now, I am not talking about medical applications that can help a person, whether that be any kind of application for pain or replacements. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the constant scrolling and the use of technology to deny our divinity. So this decreases your awareness or your intuition to connect into a higher awareness. Because if you're constantly looking down, if you're constantly in a virtual reality, what happens is your divine awareness of your consciousness goes by the wayside. And then what happens is you're responding to a very minute reality that is utterly controllable rather than waking up every morning, consulting in stillness with your intuition, knowing the path you're supposed to take in life, knowing how you're supposed to go in this direction, knowing that all is within you, which is a totally different way to live of authenticity. So I realized that it decreased my creativity and life expression. It was like I was looking here, I was looking there, because the controlled algorithms on social media means that when they read you, your iPhone knows you, you're being controlled now. So I saw someone, this is a perfect example. I saw two people respond to each other and they were both mad at each other. So they did both Facebook Lives, tearing apart to a certain extent the other person based upon what the other person said. And I was like, really? Have we come to this? I mean, really? This is somewhat bizarre. So it doesn't enhance your creative expression. It doesn't enhance your knowledge because the algorithm is just shifting you in a way it should think. It's like someone behind you gently pushing you to go in a certain direction, and you think, wow, synchronicities. Wow, this is great. It just knows me. But you're seeing the same thing over and over. Let me just be honest and upfront here. I'm so tired of the whole this is just a personal opinion. It may not be you. Okay, I'm not asking you to believe what I believe. But I don't want to hear any more about deconstruction from Christianity. I don't want to hear all the Christian stuff on my feed. And it's always rebounding back and back. Why? Because if you like something, the algorithm's going to read that. And I got so tired. I want to get in the boat, go out into the ocean, and forge a new path. And this right here, based upon the intuition of my dream, is doing just that. I am forging a new path and going a new way. Where am I going? I don't know. How am I going? I don't know. I just stepped out. I don't profess to know it all, but I do profess to know that there's a passion in my heart that I'm sick and tired of people being bogged down by religion and technology and not flowing in their intuition. I flow constantly in my intuition. The whole reason of this message was based upon that dream. My purpose is based upon my intuition. So we'll talk about that too in the coming days. So what else does this have to do with you and my dream? So if you let AI, like I said, I'm being a little repetitive, just bear with me. If you let AI write your songs, write your books, write your posts, well, then that's not you. Here's the equation. AI plus you equals AI, not you. Because if you're letting whatever chat, GPT or whatever use to write stuff, then you're not using parts of your brain for critical thinking. You're not using yourself in the process. You're coming out with the data. And you know what? Folks, I read this one, this is just me again. I read this one post, and in the post, somebody asked the person, did AI write this? And the person said no. But I started to think, when AI writes something, it seems to be so data oriented, there's no heart in it. There's no emotion in it. There's no consciousness in it, because it's writing it and not you. If you give it an idea, the process of the unfolding of the idea is your consciousness interjecting with your creativity. If it writes it for you, you have nothing to do about it. You just post it and say it's you because you had the initial thought, you put in that data, and it came out with the product. That's disgusting, folks. So I see if you use AI to write something, it seems so rigid. Why? Because my discernment, my intuition, my heart intelligence says, this isn't the person. When you take a picture and when you look at the pictures that AI produces, it's like, yeah, they're okay, but they're always like, they're not real. They don't look real. And God forbid we get to the point where they do, because then you're not going to be able to tell the difference between what's real and what's not real. And we're getting to that point. So what I'm saying is, when you put yourself into your life with all its trials, struggles, sufferings, ups and downs, is going to give you to the point where then you control technology. It doesn't control you. And I'm just getting started on this topic. So let's talk about transhumanism, because that's the ultimate focus on technology, whether or not they want to admit it. Their goal, if you do enough research on this, transhumanism is the push toward entangling your whole life with technology. And if you don't believe me, Google Ray Kurzweil, Google Noval Harari, just Google it. Google transhumanism. Here's the definition. I've looked at this a long time. Transhumanism believes that the human race can evolve beyond its physical and mental limitations by use of science and tech. Ray Kurzweil predicts that this may come in 20, 30, 40, when we become so entangled with tech that we become, according to Harari, hackable animals. That there are implants, that we're uploading what they perceive as consciousness to the cloud as an avatar. It's so bizarre, it's so dystopian, and it comes strongly against any form of organic life, which is why we're on this planet. You do not deny your humanity to substitute anything into it except by a higher consciousness in your divinity. So here's what Harari says about transhumanism. I strongly believe that given the technologies we are now developing, within a century or two at most, our species will disappear. I don't think that in the end of the 22nd century, the earth will still be dominated by Homo sapiens. We are now a hackable animal. And if you don't believe that, then do the research. I'm just going to tell you that I believe we are. We're getting to that point because of the tracing and the contact of them knowing everything about us. It's so deep that when we rise and ascend in our awareness, we're going to break the system because we're not going to comply. So the intention of transhumanism is to invade and deny the essence of your innate divinity, your beautiful conscious awareness, by connecting you in so many ways to depend on tech. You are one, entangled in the field, entangled in source, manifesting your life right here, right now, in the essence of your I am awareness. what all the scrolling and the social media and everything, it brings you down to a very low version of yourself. And I see that all the time. That is why I'm going to, and I've said this before, I haven't followed through. I'm going to post most of these on YouTube now because I don't really want to be involved in all the deconstruction stuff. So maybe it'll change the algorithm when I come back on. I'm tired of it. So there are different AI machine learning models. We'll talk about that the next time. There's ChatGPT, there's Gemini, there's Grok, there's Meta AI. And I got to be honest, sometimes if I ask a question on Google, Gemini will answer me with the facts, but I never just accept it. I look beyond that because it's just data. If I ask a basic data question, something about my health or something like that, I want just data. But if I'm going to ask a question about consciousness, it's not going to be able to tell me what I want to hear because it has no heart intelligence. So you ask a question and you get an answer. There's no heart involved. There's no consciousness. It's just data. So with some things, it's beneficial. If I want to find out really fast, like my knee was hurting me, I have to see an orthopedic doctor, and I'm doing red light therapy. I'm doing everything. It's actually feeling better, but I did want to research it a little. So I went on and I did the research, and it gave me some incredible facts. But it didn't involve my heart. And even though I had the facts, my heart said, Deborah, you're your own biology. I'm going to show you what to do. And first, get rid of the fear, it said. Get rid of the fear that everything involves a medication or an operation. I did that. And then I was exposed to red light therapy. I do that every night. So see, it does provide data, but it's not going to take over my own heart when my own heart says, try this. Are you getting what I'm saying? You can trust your heart. So think about it. You trust it when using it, but change the scenario. This is a funny story I had, and this is not going to be that long today, maybe about 5-6 more minutes. So I kept thinking about what happened when we all used to walk into a church years ago. Does the religion itself almost look like AI, machine learning intelligence, because it puts data, it gives us input, but it doesn't tell us how it arrived at the product. We walk in, we sit in a seat, and we have all this input coming in, and then they say you got to walk down the aisle to get saved. Why? Because the Bible says so. Why? Because the Bible says so. Well, who wrote the Bible? Oh, that's not your object. God wrote the Bible. And all this is proving to be total BS. So religion follows an AI model that never actually always touches the heart, but deals with duality to just accept what they say as data and to follow through and to follow a plan. They're no different than an AI-controlled technology. So let me end with, here's another quote by John Lennox. He says this: AI simulates intelligence, but actually decouples intelligence from consciousness. We'll talk about this in the days ahead. Aldous Huxley, who wrote The Brave New World, he nailed it, as well as George Orwell when he wrote 1984. These are books we read that forecasted, prophesied, predicted exactly what we're going through today. So Orwell writes 1984, Huxley writes A Brave New World, and here's what Huxley says: no big brother is required to deprive people of their autonomy, maturity, and history. People will come to love through oppression and to adore the technology that undoes their capacity to think. I'll leave it at that. So now let me give you something positive. I actually really listen and read a lot of Greg Braden, and I had a friend that really was very knowledgeable about heart-brain coherence. So even though this is all true, I want to turn now to your divinity and give you some suggestions on how your heart and your brain actually interact to connect with the field. And we'll focus on this in more detail in the days ahead. I connect to the field as the field, for I'm a fractal of Source, God. I connect within consciousness, fundamental to the universe, through receptors in the heart and the brain. This is how I connect to the field. Consciousness does not originate in my brain. It does not originate in my heart. Emotional intelligence originates in my heart. It connects and syncs with the brain that has receptor cells that connect with the field of potential where our higher awareness is. So the heart sends a signal to the brain, and this comes across if you are dealing with fear. The heart sends this signal and the brain interprets it as a stress chemical, and then it becomes decoherence. So how is social media being used? How is technology being used to control and manipulate? Often there are good people in it, but it's always used to promote fear. It's used to promote duality. So what that does is it sends a signal to your heart. The more that you listen to, oh God, don't get me started. I'm so sick of all the bullshit that's going on right now, all the division and the tribalism. I've had enough. I don't even want to hear it anymore. So I go into this mode of heart-brain coherence quite a bit. And what it says to me is I'm going to not send any more stress or fear signals to my brain based upon what I'm watching or what I'm reading, because that is a means of control. I am going to be aware of it. But these are 3 steps practice that I do that I learned from Greg Braden a long time ago. So AI will not keep me focused on fear, which sends this signal to the brain, and then I'm in a constant loop. And people out there are in a constant loop. Oh my God. You would think somebody would come out of deconstruction of Christianity and find a greater spirituality, but they loop over and over to try to figure out why they did this, what it said. Oh my God, just get in the boat and launch out and find a new way. The same holds true for many topics. So here's what I do. These are steps that I practice regularly, and they're based upon Heart-Brain Coherence, which is actually an organization in Northern California. I have to shift the thinking from the thinking mind to the feeling heart. So the first step is you have to touch the heart. Now, people will say that's ridiculous. That's woo-woo. No, it's heart intelligence. You have to quiet down and you have to touch your heart in whatever way you want to touch your heart. And you have to get still and be in a safe place, a quiet place, and just touch your heart. And then you begin to breathe very slow. And what does that mean? You're going to exhale longer than inhaling. So you're going to inhale for 5 seconds, exhale for 8 seconds. And in that process, the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system is telling your being that you're safe. So you put your hand on your heart, you begin to breathe very slowly, and then what happens is you then feel positive affirming signals. No matter what you're going through, you do not deny the reality of the world as it currently exists, but you rise above it. You're not going to rise above it without acknowledging that all this crap is going on. So you don't produce, no matter, it's like sometimes I'm not grateful. So when I do this and I have to really be still, I sometimes say to Source, am I full of BS? Because I don't really feel that grateful, but I got to look and see what I'm grateful for. And then that simply puts my mind and my brain in coherence with the field of potential, gives me peace. And then potential rises, and I know that I am in time for such a time as this. And I am brilliant as you. I am consciously aware as you. I am smart as you. And we do not have to, in any way, shape, or form, buy the narrative. So let me end with this. In this dream, when I began to really focus on it, these are the realities I had to confront, which is going to be my whole path forward right now. So what I talked about it in one Facebook Live where I felt like my intuition said, here are the hyperbolic statements you're going to face. You know, I read a lot. I am very curious. I study a lot. I do a lot of research and I skim everything. And then out of it, my intuition tells me what I'm supposed to speak on. So this is what I'm going to confront in the days ahead. Number one, tech is the future. No, it's not. You're the future. I am the future. I am the now. I am the past, the present, and the now all combined. I am that I am. Nothing will be put inside of me or control me to the best of my ability that will in any way deny my divinity or my rise in consciousness. And let me tell you, it will be a war, folks, in ways that are now being expressed that we are not even aware of. But when you study, you will realize the control that is coming across this planet. Number two, I will speak about consciousness is not in the brain. Consciousness flows through my brain, through receptors to connect in the field with the source of my higher self. So if tech tells you you can be entangled in an internet of everything and you can blossom in your humanity, that's sheer bullshit. You can't, because you are in time for such a time as this. You didn't start here. You're not going to end here. So you can use it appropriately to learn and glean knowledge. But the bottom line is that you respond out of this realm that puts you in this realm in a lower, denser energy to learn the beauty of this realm so that you respond to your intuition to lead life. And lastly, I am not going to be digitally entangled within a massive AI network called the Internet of Everything. Now, we're going to face these. I don't even listen to people that say, no, we're not. Yeah, we are, because we're facing them right now. The future will only look as positive as you believe it will be. Mankind is at a shift of evolution on this planet. There has not been a while as a time like this is now, and you are in time for this time. So woo-woo, love and light won't get you out of here, and religion isn't going to rapture you out of here. You are here to change and evolve in the planet. I'm not getting out of here. If I was going to get out of here, then why am I even human? I also do not believe in several other things we'll talk about. So what am I trying to say today? It's very simple. Trust your heart. Trust your heart that knows you better than you know that you think you know yourself. You may be locked down in your five senses, but unless those five senses are awakened to consciousness, they have to be entangled together. Because if my five senses lives near the ocean and my intuition says go to the ocean, then I combine living in this realm with my intuition, going to the ocean to expect nature to speak to me, and it does. So you are entangled in this realm with your five senses, beautifully human, entangled in your biology, every cell connected to every other cell. You are your biology. You are your spirituality. You are your emotional intelligence. So if I'm passionate, you better believe it, because I've waited a long time to get to this point where I know that this is what I'm meant to talk about. And I want to end with this. Do not wait to start until you think you're ready, because none of us are ready. The more we know we don't know. So start now with one thing. Walk in humility and grace to know that you don't have all the knowledge, but you're not going to silence your voice. You're not going to be less than who you are just because you have not reached a level of perfection. I truly believe in the people that are going to listen to this in the days ahead. So thank you. Have a good day, and trust your heart, my friends.